law, and all the mineral council members. Nick, upon Councilman Waller, could you offer us a prayer?
Wakanda Ali Wakanda Zinki and Dotsi Iwikinaji. Nika Baki Humpade Hika Oda. Any day to pray for our people is the Lord has brought the Osages through everything. I ask you, Lord, to help us. Help my brother doesn't feel well, and that's be to us. I want him to feel better, and all your families, and the ones that you're hearing my voice that put your loved ones away last week. I feel for you. I've been doing that with our people ever since I've been 9 years old. Never have I had this heartache that I have now. I ask you to watch over each and every one of my council members coming through this. My councilman Revard, I want to strengthen him, help him. The rest of us have come through that. Our children have been sick and we've survived it and they've gotten better. We're thankful for that, Lord. We're thankful that you helped us. I ask you to be with the ones that are sick, our soldiers in the field, bring them home. And we ask you, Lord, to take care of this council, all the people we represent, and our home. It said this was it for us. This is our only home left on this planet. Lord, I ask that you know that we are so thankful for our elders who got us here. We ask for prayers for them today. Everyone beyond that sun, I ask you to watch over all my people here, the ones that are working with us, trying to help us. There are other tribes. I want you to look after their tribes. I get a lot of calls from other people. I want you to look after the ones that are Navajo and Sioux. They're going to lock everything down. They have no choice. They can't stop the pandemic. I ask you to be with them. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen. Thank you, Shonka.
Moving on, brother. Thank you very much. I guess the next will be on the agenda will be the roll call. Councilman Waller,
Present.
Councilman Revard,
Present.
Councilwoman Foreman,
Present.
Councilwoman Gray,
Here.
Councilwoman Harlan, Councilwoman Harlan,
Here.
Councilman Redcorn,
Here.
and all the attorneys, Brother Pipestem,
Sir, here.
yeah, Jennifer Baker,
Yes, good morning.
Mary Catherine Nagel,
Here.
Shoni Blake,
She's here. I think she's dropping off one of her kids. So
okay, okay, Abby Fain.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, I believe that takes care of everybody. Wilson, the council could kind of put this on the screen and show them what we're here for on this election list.
Someone's getting feedback.
Seems to be. Can y'all hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Seems to be one question that everybody's concerned about, and the comments are due today for the new CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations, and we need to. Can we get them on the screen?
I have no idea.
I don't even know what you're doing.
Let's see that. Wilson, can you put that on the screen about the?
See.
I can do that. Do you want me to put the regulation up or the comment?
What the BIA is proposing for the new regulations. That's what this meeting is all about.
Let me get that up now.
That way everybody will understand what we're here for, and like I said, the comments are due today. And we need to make, that's what this meeting's all about. We need to make a decision on what we want in the comment.
Okay. Are you able to see it?
Can you make it a little larger?
Yes.
Okay. Is anyone able to see this rule?
We can see it. Can you make it just larger?
Let me see if I
Can you make it font a little bit larger?
can control that from, hold on.
Is your screen a touch screen?
It's not. It's let's see.
There you go.
Okay.
I can also put a link into this into the chat that will take you to the same page as well.
Okay.
Chairman, also, do you have our draft comments that we prepared for the Minerals Council? Do you have those?
You all have those?
I'll attach that to the chat as well.
Okay. I had them on my phone. I don't know if anybody else did.
If you'd like, well, I can send that draft around again if that would be useful.
That one.
That would be useful. Thank you.
And I'm putting it in the chat box as well.
It's there.
I wasn't in on this election vote. I didn't even vote on it. Who else voted on it? On the special election. Who called for the special election?
Well, you did. Your committee did. Susan.
Oh, was it Susan?
Susan did.
I thought it had to be the whole council.
She requested it to the chairman and the chairman approved it, so.
Aren't you supposed to have a vote on that?
Actually, no, I did not request. We said that we would need a special meeting to vote on the comments that Mr. Pipestem's getting ready to show us here and talk about.
Yeah.
We did discuss it in the meeting. Everyone received his comments from him last week, I guess. And we met about it. We recommended that we keep his comments as is. But Mr. Pipestem inserted, told us at the meeting there were other council members that wanted additional information. So that's what we're going to go over today and vote on.
That's correct.
So, get the comments in.
But usually on a special election, you have to have the consent of the whole council. Is that correct?
Well, this isn't about a special election.
I mean, special meeting, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know in the past we voted on a special meeting and the whole council had.
Well,
I think he can call a meeting as he pleases, and if there's not a quorum, there's not a quorum.
Okay.
Chairman called the special meeting, or Chairman Andrew Yates.
Okay.
He called the special meeting and sent us all an email.
Okay.
Chairman Redding, do you have, can you see what's on the screen?
No, there's just a bar.
No, it's a bar.
Oh,
There it is.
There it is.
There it is. Okay.
And Abby, you have a menu in the upper right-hand corner. That might be where you can enlarge it, although I can actually read it now.
Okay, council, can you kind of give a brief synopsis or explanation of what we need to do or what we need to put on the floor? Thank you. I'll
I'll ask Abby to kind of help here with this too. The the Bureau of Indian Affairs for many years, works with the 1906 Act, ran Osage elections. Now, after in the enactment in 2004, I call it the Osage Sovereignty Act, that reaffirms the inherent sovereign right of the Osage tribe to determine its membership and form of government. And I encourage you, beyond just these comments, to remember those words. That's what the statute says. The Osage Nation can determine its form of government. And so I think that means certainly we can have a constitutional form of government, but it may impact other areas, including this. So the existing regulations are dated. It presumes that there is an Osage Tribal Council election that they're running. And so nobody has been following those regulations for a number of years. The role of the BIA has been to provide the Minerals Council with the list of Osage head right holders and information about their address and that sort of thing for the adult Osage head right holder. And then there are, then they provide the election supervisor of the Osage Minerals Council election board with that same information of adult Osage head right holders and their shares for purposes of conducting the election. And that's consistent with laws enacted by the Osage Nation that basically give authority with some parameters to the Minerals Council to run its elections. So you all know better than me about how it's been working on the ground, but I think we've had an election supervisor and they carry things out. They hire a company and have volunteers or something. They carry out the election with that information. This rule would essentially codify or make a part of the CFR the existing practice of the BIA giving Osage head right holder information to the Minerals Council, and then that same information plus head right shares to the election board. So we, after discussion in committee, we recommended that we have the existing rule is, we're okay with the status quo, it's just fine, but we recommended a change because it refers to the supervisor of the Osage Minerals Council election board. And we may decide to change the name of those positions. We may decide to call the election board something else. So it just clarifies, if you see on the second page of the comment, instead of calling it the supervisor of the Osage Minerals Council election board, we suggest calling it the Osage Minerals Council designee charged with carrying out Osage Minerals Council elections. That's the simple change that we've suggested. That's one part for the Minerals Council to decide that's okay. Then right beneath that, if you can see in the draft comment, is an additional paragraph that the Minerals Council needs to decide whether you want to do this or not. It's because furthermore, the final rule, that's the final rule that would go into the CFR, and explanations about it, and BIA practice should not restrict the Minerals Council from access to all information associated with Minerals Council matters, including head right holder information for everyone, right? Including non-Indians, including the Minerals Council would get Osage head right holder share information, how much each person has. And we argue that the Osage Sovereignty Act says that the form of government, Osage government, we have the sovereign authority to carry that out, gives us the authority to have access to that information. But I think that's, that could be something where members of the Minerals Council disagree. So we put it in there so you can either take it out or keep it in. But other than that, our draft comment is an explanation of the history of Osage elections. And because, all of that matters in the final rule, what they say about our history becomes a part of the federal record. We've tried to clarify that a bit. But anyway, Abby, what did I miss there? I know Abby's done a lot of work on
I think you summed all of it up. I would just add that in the comment, we provided quite a bit of background after we made our recommendation on the changed language in subsection B. And you know the why of all of this is that this this section is currently in the CFRs. And the last time it was updated was prior to 2006 when the Osage adopted its new constitution. And so, um, even though that it still exists in the CFR, it's out of date. And so this proposed rule essentially deletes the current CFR as it exists today, which is out of date and inapplicable. And I think overall, it does a good job of um, trying to comply with the 2004 Act that Congress passed. It just needs those minor, what we would recommend minor adjustments to make sure that the Minerals Council can exercise its full authority as it so chooses. Again, that's in terms of subsection B, but also as Wilson said, I don't think either of us take a position on the optional uh, provisions in the comment that Wilson just discussed, but that's something that hopefully today you guys can either find some kind of consensus on whether it's you believe the Minerals Council should have access to individual uh, who who holds what shares, or whether they shouldn't, or whether you shouldn't. That's probably a bit of a political question too, in terms of what your own constituents want. So.
Okay, thank you, Abby. I'll address the comment myself. I like all of it, pretty much the same as the old CFRs, you know. When it comes down to the furthermore down there where it talks about the royalty rate and what people have, and I believe that's going just a little bit too far, in my opinion, about whether the council can have that, even if it's Osage or non-Osage. I believe that needs to be struck out, in my opinion, one day. There's too much, for personal reasons, that would be detriment to the council, I think, you know, to have that kind of information. There's a lot of reasons why, and there's a lot of reasons. All due respect to sovereignty, you know, I believe it needs to be struck out. Everything else is perfect. If we want to change the name from supervisor to designee, or whether or not, it doesn't matter. I'll open up the floor, Councilman Waller.
Thank you, Chairman. When we ran it under the Osage Tribal Council, the BIA only signed off on elections. We actually had our own election board. I've done it as far back as Miss Violet Willis, God rest her soul. What we have to look at is the complexity of delivering an election. I do feel that we should have the rights to look into this because you can separate it out from going to the council and keeping it with your designee, that they are held under confidentiality, because every once in a while you're going to have to review the vote to see if it's correct. And we should always have that right since we're the representative of these constituents. Secondly, is that the other issue comes about is that anything that my council pays for administratively for the shareholder, we should know what is out there and what doesn't belong to us and how much they own. The court battles just to consume that alone has taken decades. But the right of sovereignty is exactly that. But I do hear your concerns. But on the election boards of the tribal councils in the early 80s, we had to review it all the time. So we had that list with us, and that could be rectified immediately on the spot. As a judge and as an interpreter, we had to use those items to correct the vote in those situations. Computers made it a lot better, but I really don't have any heartburn over this. I do feel that your concerns are valid, but as running an election, you're going to have this freedom, and then later we're going to get over. They were sued over the BIA not signing off on the 2006 referendum election. We're way past that now. I feel I'm comfortable with this giving the Minerals Council protection from a lot of things. So I'll be voting yes. Thank you.
Councilwoman Foreman.
Thank you, Chair. I've thought about this at length. I think there's two issues here. And I will, I'd like to hear from the council people that are for these two issues. I'd like to hear why, what their reasoning is. But the two issues, as I see it, are first of all, are we entitled to the non-Osage head right holders information, which I think we need to have. We need to communicate with those people, remind them that they can always donate their shares back. I think at one time we offered to buy them back, but we have to know who they are and what their addresses are in order to accomplish that. And that would be in paragraph A, not B. And the other issue is, and nobody said it out loud, I still haven't heard it, is that apparently there are some council members that feel like we should have access to the Osage head right holder shares. I personally believe that is private information. It is inappropriate for us to have it. It has nothing to do with our elections. We could use it, for other reasons, but so that also could be handled under section A or paragraph A. To ask for all the information would include head right holder share for the Minerals Council, and I would vote no against that. I think the suggestion on giving us the flexibility on naming the supervisor or the board to whatever we want to name it is a good suggestion. Gives us a little more flexibility. That should remain, I believe that should remain under B. But those are my thoughts. I think having the Minerals Council, which switches every 4 years, have the head right holder share could be misused, and I just don't think it's a good idea. I think if we ran a survey of all the shareholders, they would probably not want us to know that either. And just to wrap it up, I'm not a cattleman. My husband was a cattleman, but there's an old saying that if you ask a cattleman how many cattle he has, that's an insult, because that's like asking him how much money he has in the bank. And I don't see that having the head right owners share any different. So I'm not for the what's bracketed in the suggestion by our attorney. I would be for inserting having access to the non-Osage head right holders addresses and names, but then again, that doesn't have anything to do with elections, and we could handle that separately. So there's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councilwoman Foreman. Councilwoman Gray.
Yes. What I see is, on A, I just think that the people who are counting those votes, obviously they need to know the shares so they can count and leave it as that. What you call them, it doesn't really matter. They're still doing like Councilman Waller said, been doing these elections for a long time. And like I said, Violet Willis, man, they were brought back that way back. And I remember working with Miss Willis. But I know that the last several times that we've had our elections, they were ran professionally, they were done well, and they need to have that list and be a separate entity from us to let them, so it'll be a fair election. I don't know what, someone else talked about the abusing of, I had heard rumor of that, unfortunate as that is. I don't really see that we need this, as long as that list of shareholders and their, amounts is, or their share amount, that's, I don't see what it would do to, that we don't need it right now. We've made it this far without it, so I don't think that we need it, to put that out there. And then on the other one about, I do have a concern, and we talked about this with the movie coming up, and I don't really think that matters either, but we do, and we are working on, I know that Councilman Harlan is kind of taking the lead on acquiring a process for us to get these head rights back. And I do want to know who has these head rights, because then that tells the follow-up story after the movie, and it's really not the movie, it's our history. Our history is this: those were taken systematically, and they were used, and we lost a lot of Osages because they wanted to procure land holdings. We have many other ranchers who were guardians, and I think that we need to know who these are. And, we've been living amongst them for a long time, and I know that through the church and where there are other locations that these head rights have gone out, that list, I definitely want to see that one, because I think it's time we start communicating to them. So that's all I have on this, and I'd just like to hear what the other my colleagues have to say on this too. But I'm for letting our designee or our election supervisor have that list. And I just want to make sure it's an updated list, and we're still working on, with Janelle and superintendent on getting that list. And a clean list of voters that are shareholders, put it that way. So that's all my comments, Councilman. I'm like, I'll be ready to vote. I know that's how I feel, but I'd like to hear what everyone else has to say.
Thank you, Councilwoman Foreman. Councilman Redcorn?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't think we need any of this information. The way we ran it before, I think is okay. If we need a list of non-Osages, we can ask the BIA for it when we're ready. So I think we ought to just not change this, keep that information private until we need it, and we can make it separate. But I don't want it in the regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Redcorn. Councilman Wall, did you have another comment?
Yes, just on that concern alone, Chairman, we as an election board, that was never given out to the council. That's only delivered on the day of election and the day you send out your mailers of applicants who were on the last head right check paid out list. That part alone we can protect. It doesn't come to us. And as you well know, we had to sign letters that we would not be using this list. So, with that being said, is that we don't get the amount, but you have to have it available, because digitally, that computer voter is showing the amount of their vote. And you have to give that item to your election board or your director or whoever, whatever you call them, and keep it in house. But I never planned on having it as a commodity in which the council looks at. And we ran into this in the third, and that's how we handled it. And that's even with the referendum government coming in. And then later on, when you are contested at the ballot box, remember the BIA is not going to be there to call on it someday that's going to allow you that privilege. So we're going to have that department our own selves. And as you know in the letter, 2 issues have been looked at by the nation, and that's a possibility for them later. They would probably agree with us. They don't want to know it either. And I don't know what your vote is. I know what mine is, and that's all that matters.
Thank you, Councilman Walker. Anybody else have a comment or question?
Chairman, this is Paul. I've got a question.
Go ahead, Councilman Walker.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so the way this is worded, this proposal, then the whole mineral council would be receiving all this information. But it could be that maybe the way it is right now, only our election board gets it, the supervisor. Is that true? I mean, somebody's got to have it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just election supervisor.
And so this proposal is changing it to where we all get it instead of just that one individual.
No, well, just to clear.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Just that paragraph that's in brackets in the comment, the one that starts with furthermore, the final rule, that is, if that's just an optional one, that's the one that would make it where the Minerals Council has all the information. If the Minerals Council decides to vote against that option, then what will happen is that the Minerals Council will still have a list of the names of folks who are shareholders, their address, but they don't have information on their individual shares. That's paragraph B goes further and says that the value each head right holder has is what only the designee of the Minerals Council tasked with conducting these elections will have access to.
Okay, thank you. I mean, can you scroll down at where it says section C and all the way down? There you go.
Huh?
Where it says furthermore.
In the comments.
Yeah, let me share my screen with you.
It doesn't show up on our screen here.
So
So just a couple of things to think about here. I mean, for example, you know, the Osage Nation now runs its election, its CDIB and membership, right? So I think that information about blood quantum is kept, and that's confidential, but that is in the possession of the Osage Nation, right?
Right.
So
That's correct.
Yeah.
there are circumstances where we have that the nation has, by its own law, and maybe in accordance with the 638 contract with the BIA, they keep it confidential. So, you know, there's some precedent for this. But, you know, that's, but the other issue that has been raised is what about the non-Osages that have head rights? So as a legal matter, it would be difficult to say, wait a second, we don't get information. We don't want information about Osages, but we do want the information about non-Osages. They have the same, they have a federally protected property right and a head right that the Osages do as well. So it would be difficult to argue that, hey, we don't want the Osage information, but we want the non-Osage information, at least when it comes to head right shares.
May I?
As a legal matter.
Next question. Next person is Councilwoman Harlan. You have a question or comment?
Thank you. I think the proposed verbiage is appropriate, and here's why. It simply says the BIA shall not restrict the OMC. Now it's up to the OMC to request specific pieces of information, and we could pass a resolution or some type of in-house um, uh, regulation that requires us to not have the Osage shares, the Osage headright shares. But what this verbiage that I see in the option that's highlighted, it just simply is a request that they don't block our access. So I'm going to be voting yes on this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harlan. Councilwoman Harlan. Okay, the question is, anybody else? Councilman Redcorn, do you have a question? Or comment?
No, I've made my comment. I'd like to vote. And I guess it's no.
Okay, Council.
I'll vote now.
Okay, anybody else?
Thank you.
Well, I would like to clarify something.
Go ahead, Councilman.
What we're doing is voting on these comments. And the motion would, I guess, would be, it could be worded two ways. It could be worded, does the council approve the comments with the one correction to paragraph B for our comments, or does the council approve the comments with the inclusion of the option provided in brackets? So I guess I'll make the motion. I will make the motion that we approve the comments excluding the option for our comments.
Okay, can you repeat that, Councilwoman Harlan?
Well, it was Councilwoman Foreman.
Excuse me, Councilwoman Foreman, I'm sorry.
Yes, and I make the motion that the council approves the comments for the proposed rule, excluding the option that says, furthermore, the final rule explanations about the final rule, blah, blah, blah. So the motion is to approve the comments as written, excluding the option we've just discussed that starts furthermore.
Okay, I'll second that. Discussion.
Okay, I
Councilwoman
just for clarification, now what Councilwoman Harlan had said in the option that furthermore, the final rule explanations about the final rule, like furthermore, the final rule explanations about the final rule and the BIA practice should not restrict the ONC from access the all information with. Okay, so just for clarification, maybe this is to Marcia or to Wilson. What it does is says that it's just setting a process that we will never be excluded. We can always go back and ask, right? Is that how that works?
It's taking a position that you should not claim legal authority to restrict us from accessing that information.
Okay.
But at some point, it's like, okay, we're going to give it to a tribal body, the election board, but another tribal body, Minerals Council, can't look at it, including non-Osage headright holder names and addresses. They should not restrict that. I don't think they should.
I don't think we should
Restrict us from that information.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to figure out is the way that she's trying to make her resolution or her motion is that we just completely not consider getting the non-shareholders list. Is that what I'm hearing?
Everything stays the same except according to their motion, everything stays the same except the option.
We're excluding the option. Yeah.
Could I be heard, Second Chair?
Go ahead, Councilwoman Harlan.
So I think what I hear from everyone on the council is everyone, including Councilwoman Foreman, is in agreement to the paragraphs above the option. Where we have some disagreement and a lot of discussion is on the option. Because I find the motion as it's made a bit confusing, it would require us to approve all or decline all. I would ask if the councilwoman would rescind her motion and make a separate motion that simply says, you know, we divide it in two parts. We approve A and B, and then the second motion would be to approve or not approve the option being added. I think that makes a little more sense to do it that way, because everybody agrees, sounds like, to the changes, except for not everybody agrees to the option. So I would ask if the councilwoman would rescind her motion and separate them.
Well, you could always yes, you could always make another motion to do that. My motion is simply to accept the comments as is without the option. That I don't know how to make that more clear. And if someone wants to make a motion to accept the option after my motion, they're perfectly free to do that. So my motion stands to accept the comments A and B as suggested by our attorney, excluding the option. And it's been seconded, so call for the vote, please.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time I was allowed to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harlan. Call for the vote.
Councilwoman Foreman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gray,
I'll vote yes.
Councilwoman Harlan,
No.
Councilman Redcorn, Councilman Redcorn, Second Chair Regal,
Yes.
Councilman Rebar,
Yes.
Councilman Waller.
No.
Second Chair, I would like to change my vote to no.
Can you change your vote?
We have before.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion fails.
Okay, that's what this meeting was all about. Thank you, everybody, council, and all the, go ahead, Councilwoman Harlan.
I'd like to make a motion.
Did I hear her say the motion failed?
Yes.
Could I hear what the votes were, please?
3 yeses, 3 noes, 1 abstain, 1 abstain.
I would like to make a motion.
It sounds like that. Hold on. It sounds like that. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Never mind. It did fail.
It failed?
I said it failed. I'd like to make a motion that we accept A and B and include the option as.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, could I be heard?
Go ahead, Councilwoman Harlan.
Again, I'm going to ask Councilwoman Gray. Would you please rescind your motion and vote on this in two parts?
Yes.
That we would approve A and B, and then if that approves, which it sounds like it would, then we have a separate vote on the option. I think that cleans up things a lot better. And I'm just making a request, if you'll rescind your motion and you know, the same request I had of the previous councilwoman.
Yes, I will rescind that motion and make the motion that we accept A and B on the first vote.
May I speak?
I'll,
I need a second.
I'll
Is
that motion.
Okay.
is there a second?
As, you know,
Point of
Councilman.
order.
Point of order. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I will agree to rescind my second. Now your floor is
Okay.
I'd like to speak. We just
I'll
had
second that motion.
Hold on. Councilwoman Foreman, go ahead.
We just made that motion and it failed.
No, it's not the same motion.
It is too. She
No.
said, okay, repeat the motion, please.
She's talking about A and B, not the option.
Yeah.
Well, let me just remind you all, I made a motion to accept A and B excluding the option. Same thing.
And I am making the motion, I have made the motion to accept A and B only. I did not add the word exclude option or anything. That will be my next vote.
The
So, no.
intent is the same. The intent is the same.
The first vote,
No,
the first motion failed. It was, what was it, 4-4 or 3-3?
3-3, yeah.
That's a no vote.
Yeah.
So now we go to the next motion, which is Councilwoman Gray, and she's making a motion for A and B only, not the option.
Yes,
To vote on that separately, and we'll go from there.
yes.
Do I hear a second?
We already did, Everett.
Okay. Discussion.
question. Call for it.
Anybody have a question or comment?
No, just call for the question.
I see Councilwoman Foreman's hand up.
Oh, I forgot to put it down. Sorry.
Okay, call for the question.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harlan,
yes.
Councilman Redcorn, Secretary Red Eagle,
Yes.
Councilman Rebar,
Yes.
Councilman Waller,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foreman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now the floor is open for any other motions.
Okay, I'd like to make the motion to accept option for additional language for our
Second.
election of the, okay. We try that again.
You want to accept the option?
Yes, accept the option.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Discussion.
Second Chair, Red Eagle.
Go ahead, Council.
Based on the discussion, does it make sense to change the option language to focus on access to information related to non-Osage head right holders?
That's a good point.
We could change that language. If you give me 30 seconds, I could propose something.
Can we take a quick break so I get some water?
Okay, let's council, everybody on a 5-minute break for that.
Yes.
Sure.
I have my hand up. Might I say one thing?
Be sure and put it in the chat.
Go ahead, Councilman Waller.
Yes, we pay and administrate these head rights for everyone. I understand that about asking them their business, but we pay for the administration for these people to have this right. And they knew that when they purchased these and got them out of the Osage's hands. So I don't know if they need to be specifically drawn out, but I feel that my council represents every head right that is out there and paid through the federal system. Thank you, guys.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break, let council reword this and see what we think, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
The recording has stopped.